And welcome back to another episode of Serial Killers and Chill. Y'all missed the past 10 minutes of pre-recording where we've been goobing around.
It's been hilarious. Anyways, Tara and Drake.
It's not what I call them.
Nah.
Anywho's a what's-its.
For our Facebook page.
Yes, our top 3 contributors. We used to do this weekly. However, because there's so many of you now, we're going to have to just do it every 28 days. And it gives you a little bit more time to kind of contribute a bit more.
Yes.
Our top 3 contributors.
Josh, Daryl, and Travis. Thank you guys so much. Josh, you were at number 1. Travis, though, you were at an astounding highest number of comments.
Yes.
Like,
you were
wonderful.
You were king of the chit chat.
Yes, wonderful.
Your commentary numbers are up there, sweetie.
And Josh and Daryl, you guys were seriously neck and neck by one post.
One post. Yeah. And it usually is Josh and Daryl. You guys are certainly our most active. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. And happy Friday the 13th, everybody.
Although this may not come out until...
It won't be till whenever, but...
Yeah, depending on how long it takes to edit. But yes, happy Friday the 13th.
Which we had a bunch of good posts on our page.
Oh my god, the page blew up with all of these Jason... Oh my, and some of them were just unbelievable.
They're pretty good.
So I saw a lot of the recycled ones that you see over the years.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but there's still
But I saw a few of them that were, well, that's a new one.
Yes.
I was really impressed. Really. And actually, you found some of the newer ones I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, I found a couple.
The one doing the little dance.
Yeah, with the choppy the machete.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. So thank you guys for your contributing to our page. Very much appreciate you.
Yes.
You can find our Facebook page if you go, for the subscribers, if you go to the About on our YouTube channel, there is a direct link to our Facebook page. Also, in mentioning that, crazy for our movie review.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
So I don't know. So if you guys didn't see it, our movie review for Benny Loves You was actually watched by the company
Darkline Entertainment, the company that actually, I believe, produced Benny Loves You.
Commented on our YouTube video, said thank you for the review, and also actually made a joke about one of the jokes that we had made at the end of the video, which means that they watched the whole video, which is super freaking cool.
The cool part is that they took the link to this delightful YouTube page and put it directly onto their Twitter feed.
Yes, and tweeted about us. So freaking awesome.
We were geeking out.
Yeah.
So if anybody from that particular area, Darkline Entertainment, or anybody affiliated, thank you guys.
Appreciate you. That was awesome, and we love that movie.
That was cloud 9 for a few days there.
And it has almost 3 times as many views as our
half the amount of time
as our 2 other videos. So we thank you very much. It's very much appreciated.
Yes.
So awesome.
And if the movie review is something that you guys really do like, let us know. Comment, and we're happy to do more of them.
We have a couple of suggestions for movies to do.
Yes.
Obviously, with the videos that we do, I mean, we try to fit as many in as we can. And also the availability of those movies, obviously, is another thing.
Yeah, because we do a lot of streaming for our movies. I mean, it's not like we still live in the DVD Stone Age, but we do still, slap a disc in on occasion. But it's just so much easier to stream. If you have any suggestions from Netflix, Amazon Prime, Shudder, Hulu, any of that,
Halloween
please.
Channel.
Yes. What was it? Horror Max.
Horror Max. That's what it was.
I'm still trying to maneuver that one.
It's different. It's kind of like Shudder, but it's a
lot of. How would you explain?
I'd say it's more definitely in the
C-rated.
yeah, it's in the lower end of B-rated, which isn't a bad thing.
No, and B-rated movies are a riot.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing by any means, but where Shudder does put in their Hollywood movies here and there, where this one typically does not.
A lot of them are, they're like your straight to the $5 bin kind of movies.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
straight to DVD types.
Which again is not a bad thing.
No, I've found some good ones.
We appreciate those movies. So thank you again. Thank you, Darkline Entertainment. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the tweet on this. So it was very, very
Still
exciting.
kind of geeking out over that one. We're not doing a movie today.
No, today is actually a pretty well-known serial killer. However,
he's
not
been
very much information on this particular person.
Him personally, not really.
But his murders are crazy huge.
He has actually been dubbed officially the most prolific serial killer in U.S. history.
Yes.
History.
What was it? Was it Bundy?
Actually, I have the stats.
What was the condition or the combined amount?
I have the stats. I apologize. My notes gotta sift. Okay, here we go. 50 of his confessed 93 murders have been confirmed. He's now officially the serial killer with the highest body count as 50 murders. Only 50.
Which he confessed to like 93.
A lot of that too, the reason why they can't really prove those is because the bodies had not been located. Or they haven't put a connection between the cases
decomposed, or the fact that he wasn't able to give the information because he passed.
So, this is one more than the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway.
Yes.
15 more than the ultimate psychopath, Ted Bundy. And 17 more than the clown killer, John Wayne Gacy. Now, these are just the confirmed.
Right, confirmed only. And there is a up-teen list of possible unnamed individuals that go along with this. It just has like some identifying marks and definitions of these people, but they are unnamed.
And one of the main reasons for this is because of who the killer went after. The types of people: transients, prostitutes, drug addicts.
And it was a large amount of the prostitutes and drug addicts. He specifically targeted these people. So who are we talking about?
We are talking about the one and only Samuel Little.
Yes, in which he had just recently died in December of 2020. This man had been everywhere, and he was in and out of jail and prison.
Oh, so many times.
More times than anybody I've ever known.
Talk about by the skin of your teeth a lot of the time.
Yes.
And even the police will admit they failed.
Absolutely.
Repeatedly.
Absolutely. If you watch some of the documentaries on Samuel Little...
And there are quite a few of them right now, especially on YouTube, particularly because... He just died
passed.
December of 2020.
And we typically don't do the more renowned serial killers. However, this individual...
This guy was just astounding.
It was crazy how long he went without even... I mean, so they were suspicious of him 4 times total. Went to trial 2 times. And then even went to jail a couple of times. And... again, went to trial, but then they couldn't do anything with him.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, and it's like I told Drake earlier in the day, he is the biggest catch and release fish.
Absolutely.
That our legal system has seen.
Over 100 times in and out of jail and prison.
And that's not an exaggeration. I wish it was. I really do.
Literally, there's you can find online the list where he served years in prison, jail time. I mean, in and out. I think it was in 11 years, from 1964 to 1975, he was in and out of jail 26 times.
That is... Do you think he could end up in the Guinness Book of World Records? Like, do you seriously?
I mean,
do they have something for that?
And I have no idea, but and it wasn't just for like.
I mean, the man's
robbery.
immortalized either way.
And it wasn't just for like robbery or it was literally assault, robbery, forgery, fraud. I mean,
the list was.
Check me on the forgery part.
Oh no, I do believe forgery was involved.
I was gonna say because I know for a fact it was fraud, but forgery was maybe an iffy on that one.
It's unbelievable how much there was.
It absolutely astounding, and then the fact that they could never pin anything on him because like we said, the individuals that he targeted were prostitutes and drug addicts, which are the hardest witnesses to bring forth into court.
They're the less credible, and understandably so. They are the less credible. Add to it, sometimes they're very difficult to relocate. These are people.
Absolutely.
These are people who are terrified of the police. So the first sign that someone's looking for you, you're going to disappear and go off radar.
And then they're going to start searching the area, especially when their job is to make money being out in the street. And then you're going to have cops watching you or talking to you all the time. That you're going to lose money. And so,
U.S. police, I don't know about police task forces in other countries, but the U.S. police are notorious for saying one thing and doing another. So you could be, say, a prostitute. They want your take on it. They want you to, what's the word I'm looking for? Testify.
Yes.
And they offer to forgive part of your record or ignore it for this time and not send you to jail. Quite the opposite will end up happening. So yes, a lot of these men and women who work the corners, they're terrified.
And especially in the earlier years, like we're talking, like said, again, in the 1970s, 1980s, there was a time where he took a short break.
He did. He took a bit of a cool off period.
I think it was in 1987 to 1994.
Yeah, it was kind of
the
chill.
Cool off period.
Yeah, it was just a kind of chill time.
In which and what's crazy about Mr. Little is that so he specifically chose to not use a weapon. Because the people that he targeted, again, were prostitutes and drug addicts. He didn't use a knife or a gun because then there'd be no ballistics.
No. In his interview, he stated he didn't use a knife or a gun because he didn't like blood.
Well, there was that, but there's also no ballistics, so there was no tying to an individual object.
Not that they had much for ballistics in the 60s.
No, but you're talking about in the 1940s to 2005. In the late 90s, I mean, fingerprints was a huge thing. DNA was a huge thing. I mean, he was thinking about this way before then. And the fact that strangulation with those type of individuals, they related it to overdose symptoms or the fact that it was a drug deal gone bad.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these bodies, these Jane Does, will never be found because they simply wrote it off as this was a drug deal gone bad.
This is just part of the industry.
And if you watch the interview about Mr. Little, his hands are huge.
As a matter of fact, anybody who had interviewed him continually went on about how massive this man was.
And I mean, I find my hands as being average. Okay, this guy's hands.
I have tiny little sausages.
Were probably 3 inches longer than mine, easily.
Yeah, I have.
I mean,
sausages.
they were, and he wasn't a big guy.
No.
When he was arrested, he was in his 70s. So when in his younger years, he probably was a little bit stockier, a little bit more built.
When you look back on his earlier mug shots, there is something very, very menacing about him, very cold. And they usually say you see it in the eyes. Yeah, definitely very, very dead looking, no feeling, no emotion, no remorse.
And every single mugshot is almost the exact same.
And it's neat because it's almost like a flip book.
If you look through the timeline, every single mugshot is almost the exact same for all of his arrests, where he has the exact same facial look, and he has the
He
exact
keeps the same facial fur his whole life.
his whole life.
But he found what worked.
I give him that. He does the little soul patch and the little, the kind of porno Rido beard thing going on, from the late 70s kind of thing. Whatever.
He had the pompadour hair going.
Yep.
And you can definitely tell as the photos progress, you can see how his nomadic lifestyle was starting to kind of wear and tear on him. As a matter of fact, when he was arrested, he was living in a homeless shelter.
Yes.
He was fine. What was it? 2005.
2005.
So allegedly murdered women across 19 different states over 35 years, which ended in 2005.
Now, wasn't it in 2012 when so he was arrested in 2005, which he was arrested previously for other murders, which he ended up confessing to later, but got away with at that time, if I remember correctly. But he wasn't fully convicted till 2012?
And even after that, they took him back 2 more times.
Yes, for more life sentences and these are murders that he admitted to, that he came to the police and said, "Hey, I did this." Now, what's crazy about Mr. Little is that he had what did you call it? The photograph.
He has a photographic or pictographic memory.
Pictographic, yes.
Yes, and
it was insane how he could remember almost every single individual moment.
that's another interesting.
Over 35 years.
Yeah, that's another interesting little thing that goes along with Sam Little. Towards the close of his life, it was kind of like he would not so much gave up, but knew his demise was coming.
He was in a wheelchair.
He was wheelchair bound. He had heart problems, advanced diabetes.
Diabetes, that's what it was.
He knew the end was coming, so he began confessing. He didn't just confess via words. He provided the police with sketches that he drew of every one of his victims.
Not every one of them. 16 of them.
Oh, that's right.
There
That's right.
16 of them that they were that were unsolved murder cases so that was, I believe, after he was convicted.
Now, see, in the documentary that I had watched prior to watching the one with you, he had stated he had sketched over time every single picture of every person he had ever murdered.
And which may be true.
So I'm wondering, did he turn that over as well, along with the ones that are more publicized?
Well, so from what I read, and that's going with the volume 1 and volume 2, is that 16 were ones that he had sketched up of the victims for unsolved cases, if I remember correctly, and all 16 were available to the public immediately as soon as he turned them in.
Now, you can go into any basic Google Bing type search and look up these pictures, these drawings that he's done, and in a few cases you will see the comparison between his artwork and the actual photo of the person. And every single time there were 2 things that stuck out the most. He always got the eyes dead on. And he always got the smile or the lips.
And their neck.
And their neck was always the star of the show.
He was obsessed with the necks.
And he discovered this in kindergarten.
Yes. He actually would specifically target individual females for their neckline. A turn, how it looked, how your tendons appeared, how the shadowing took place, your Adam's apple, or and that was another reason why he chose strangulation, because when you would swallow during strangulation, he wanted to feel that from your throat.
And it also explains why, when he did his drawings, the eyes were dead on. Is because it's a very up close. It's an extremely personal situation for the killer.
Absolutely.
You are watching the very essence of who this person is die
leaving,
out in their eyes.
leaving, and then which even in some of his drawing, the discoloration that would happen.
Yeah, you would see that sort of bloodshot look that comes in.
And then the instant like gloss over.
There's a specific word for it, and
I can't remember what it is.
I cannot recall what it was.
But that's what happens, and he would have this in some of his drawings, and again his memory of and with the interviews they showed this.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the interviews were kind of scary.
Yeah, for how
he didn't show any remorse at all.
None.
No regret. No, even though he said he was sorry. I think he's just sorry he eventually got caught, which he eventually got caught because he was too old. Go.
Yeah.
He was too old to continue doing what he found to be interestingly sexualized.
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah,
it's crazy how, and this is what we find interesting. This is why we do these kind of videos for, not just educational purposes, but also for us as well to try to understand these individuals.
He admits to it so matter-of-factly, as if you were talking about what laundry detergent to use.
Absolutely. And the fact that he was so cut off from the fact that these were human beings. That's what's crazy.
Yes.
It didn't matter, I bet, if it was a squirrel, a worm, or a human being. He treated them all the same. If he had
same as if you were to step on a cockroach.
Yeah.
Like there's no thought to it. Just, it's a bug.
Squish.
And it's in my home.
Or a spider for some of you. Or,
yeah, exactly.
I love spiders. Just saying.
I tolerate so much.
But again, Samuel Little ended up dying in December of 2020. He did help solve 50 unsolved murders, along with the amount of murders that he was convicted of. They say 36 to 90, but when overall new recent evidence shows 54.
They're still
54,
connecting him.
Well, 54 confirmed, I think, is what it was.
Yep.
So this guy, to go on that long, and again, yes, starting in the early 60s. He started at the age of 20.
His first arrest was when he was 16. And it was for something extremely petty. And of course, that's how it always is. It starts out small, and then it just keeps on going. 1961, Little was sentenced to 3 years in prison for breaking into a furniture store.
Right.
He was released in 1964. By 75, he had been arrested 26 times, 11 states, for crimes including theft, assault, attempted rape, fraud, attacks on government officials. I wish I could have found more on that. In 82, he was arrested in Mississippi and charged with the murder of a 22-year-old Melinda Rose Lepre.
Right, which then he was able to be convicted, but then right after that, he was sent to Florida.
He was extradited to Florida and tried for the murder of 26-year-old Patricia Ann Mount.
That's who it was. Now, wasn't it directly after that, because he wasn't convicted for that either?
No. Prosecution witness identified Little in the court as a person who spent time with Mount on the night before her disappearance, but due to the mistrust of the witness and her testimonies, that after that he moved to the San Diego area of California. 84, he was arrested for kidnapping, beating, and strangling 22-year-old Lori Barrows.
That's right.
Who survived.
That's right. And this is another thing. Kidnapped, strangled, and beat a woman and only served 2.5 years in jail.
Here's a kicker.
Prison.
Here's a kicker. And watching him confess to it was creepy. A month after this murder, he was found by a police officer in the back seat of his car. After I apologize, after the attempted.
Yes.
My bad, I forgot she survived.
Yes.
He was located in the back seat of his car with an unconscious woman who had been beaten and strangled in the same location he had attempted to murder Barrows.
And she was dead. She passed. And
the cop let him go.
So a cop pulls up, and Little basically acts like he's getting it on in the backseat of the car.
With his wife. He
With
said he
his
was in there with
wife.
his wife.
And the cop, and you can watch this on the interviews, he says that the cop literally flashes the light in there, looks, and sees this unconscious woman. But
This
it
brought
was
about a discussion about LED flashlights that we have now.
right, because you can see so much better.
Those
But
things are bitching.
glances in there, sees a woman that's like
She looks
propped.
passed out.
Well, but she's propped.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes back and he's like, yeah, that's my wife in there.
He admits to distracting the police officer as the officer was going back for a second look. Had this officer gone back for a second look, we could have had this guy off the streets.
Absolutely.
Generations sooner.
Absolutely, but got away with it with a cop literally right outside the car door.
Yep.
Wild.
Yeah, this guy was insane.
Again, fish in and out.
Yeah,
But the fact
100 times.
But the fact
Who
that
has that kind of luck?
they had his fingerprints. They had knowledge of who he was. I mean, you're talking about what 19.
But they had no DNA to connect him.
Exactly. And what's crazy though is even in the late 90s, but he did take a break for a short time. Excuse me. But in the late 90s to like early 2000, you would think with the technology during that time, it would have been easier to catch this guy. But again, the people that he targeted weren't really looked after because, again, he didn't use a knife, he didn't use a gun, so they thought it was just drug related or prostitution related.
Yep. In 2019, he was indicted in Hamilton County, Ohio, for the murder of 2 women who were killed in Cincinnati. He was located in an area called Over the Rhine.
Oh, that's right.
That is said to be one of the toughest areas of Cincinnati. One of those areas where you lock your doors when you go through. But he was indicted on this.
I've done that with Jehovah's Witness.
Oh. We're not going there.
It wasn't for me. It was for their safety.
In 2020, he confessed to 2 murders in Florida. One, another man had been wrongfully convicted of.
Yep.
Naturally, this man was released, and I'm sure they had to pay some form of penance to him for stealing umpteen years off of his life.
Right.
I'd like to know how they connected him.
Yeah, I didn't find...
I couldn't find any info, which honestly, if that had been me, I'd change my name, go under the radar, and try my best to make an entirely new
I'm
life.
sure they did that for him.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. Which,
yeah.
Okay, that's still, no. No. We couldn't pass this one up. Like he had said, we don't really do the prolific ones because there's so much out there on them.
But this one with him passing away so recently... wanted to take the opportunity to learn about him
the number was astounding, and after watching that documentary and how cold he was,
again learning about how these individuals think and process things, it's interesting to actually have the interviews to watch of them and to see how cut off from beings that they are, so that it's interesting to watch. At least that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it's
like I said, the way you step on a cockroach is the way he thinks about human beings, and that's what I find.
I don't understand how somebody couldn't value human life, as if you had that right to snuff out the life of another person.
Do you have the right to kill a cockroach? To them, it's no different, though.
I have a basic rule about spiders and so on and so forth. When you are outdoors, coop. You come into my domicile. Game on.
She's got a grenade.
So that brings us to the conclusion of our rant about Samuel Little.
Yep.
Definitely the U.S.'s most deadly and most prolific serial killer on the face.
That got caught, and we at least got some answers, and some of the victims at least were identified and found. And
some of their families were able to get some closure and have questions resolved. For the rest of them, I really do hope they're able to figure out who some of these Jane Does are so that their families
Absolutely.
can rest a little easy as well. And as saddened as I am at the loss of anybody's life, it's very nice to know one more person like him is no longer on this plane of existence. So yes, please.
Thank you guys. Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Please
Appreciate
subscribe. You. Yes, and in the commentary, if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, we're always around to answer.
Absolutely.
Thank you once again for joining us. We love being able to sit here and rant for you.
Thank you guys.
You all have very pleasant nightmares.